Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Nash Riker with StruggleToVictory.com. And I have for you a very special interview here today with someone that I respect and admire greatly and whose story really inspires me in a major way. His name is Mark Esho, and he's an entrepreneur from the UK. And he started a company a little over a decade ago called Easy Internet Services. And now he has over 50,000 customers with that company, and he has about 20 other online businesses that he operates as well. So Mark has achieved a great amount of success in his life and abundance and fulfillment with what he's doing. And he has a really interesting story as well that I really wanted to kind of just bring to the surface so that other people out there who are entrepreneurs or starting a business of some type, I want you to really understand that no matter what you may be going through at the time, you can overcome your challenges. You can overcome any negative situations or circumstances that come your way, and Mark is a perfect example of that. Mark has had to deal with some physical disabilities related to polio symptoms that from his childhood, and so that has caused a crippling effect physically. It's caused him to not be able to get around the way most people can. But what's amazing is, in spite of all of that, he did not let it stop him, and he overcame all of his limitations and has really become limitless. And he's created a life that is of complete fulfillment for him and abundance and prosperity, and he's also doing a great thing in the world, and he's inspiring lots and lots of people. So this interview, unfortunately, in the very beginning, it did not record properly, so I missed about 2 to 3 minutes of the very beginning of this interview. But the rest of it is great. It sounds great, and you'll get tons and tons of value from this. But in the beginning, Mark really was just getting us caught up to speed on some of his background and how he got started as an entrepreneur. And he said that basically, because of his physical disabilities, he was not being treated fairly at the jobs that he had, and he ended up getting fired or let go from multiple jobs because even though he was performing at peak performance and he was doing his job very well, they just that was just one thing he had to deal with. And so he found out quickly that, working a job, a traditional job, was not going to provide him the kind of security that he needs. And so he decided that the only way to do that was to become an entrepreneur. And that's what he did. He started his online company, Easy Internet Services, and went through massive amounts of struggle getting it off the ground. He actually started the company with no financial capital. He actually started it from a credit card or a couple credit cards that he had. So his whole company was financed from his credit cards. And he did whatever it took in order to provide massive value and to make a name for himself. And he stuck with it even through the times that he wasn't sure it was going to work. And he ended up achieving massive success. And he gets into some of that as well. But the very beginning of that was kind of cut off, and I kind of wanted to fill you in real quick there. So anyways, here you go, folks. Enjoy the interview here with Mark Esho.
Learned a bit of web design, learned a bit of marketing, but the project failed. It was a complete failure. And I ended up losing all my savings. But the silver lining from that was that I then learned a little then about SEO. That's when Google's, in 2000, Google had just started off, and I managed to get the website there right to the top of the ranking. So I thought, okay, this sounds like a service that companies will probably like in the future. Let me, do a bit more research and a bit more learning. So I spent about 2 to 3 months learning everything I could about SEO. So the next stage of the journey was to then try to launch this and then get this onto the market. But my problem was I was stuck at home, I was stuck in my bedroom. How would I then reach out to companies? Because obviously because of the physical limitations, I couldn't then decide, okay, that I was going to go door knocking. Or if someone asked me to come to do a presentation, that again would be problematic. So what I did was I contacted a few companies and I said to them that I would get their websites to the top of the search engines completely free of charge. They don't have to pay me anything. The only thing I'd want from them in return is a testimonial. So what I then did is I worked for these companies for about 4 or 5 months. I got them the results, and then I launched my first website called Rank for You. And it was on the same premise that if I didn't get you to the top of the search engines, don't pay me.
Mm,
So from there, that's how I started these internet services.
nice, nice. So it
I
was.
also forgot to mention that obviously during that time, I had to fund everything on my credit card.
Yeah, I read that about your story. Now that's amazing. So not only were you overcoming your physical challenges and the disability that you mentioned,
Yes,
but you didn't. It's not like you had a ton of funding and capital to just start your business and jump right into profit mode.
that's
I mean,
right.
you actually offered your services for free for a period of
Yeah,
time just to build up your credibility and get some testimonials, and that's powerful, man. Really, really cool, buddy.
thank you,
Um,
thank you.
Now, let me ask you this: what were one of the biggest what's one of the biggest challenges that you had to face along the way to getting into profit mode? Now, we had already talked about two of those. You had the physical challenge, and you also
Yes,
had the financial challenge. So, I mean, right there,
absolutely.
that those two things would stop 95 or 98% of people out there.
Indeed.
But you kept going, and this is one of the reasons why I like doing these interviews is to pull out that inspiration, because there's so many
Yes,
people out there that they see the fruit on the tree that you have now and all the success and things like that, and it's
yes.
very easy to look at that and say, oh well, and just kind of make up a story about how it all just easily came together. But that is absolutely not the case. And the only people succeeding as an entrepreneur and
Mm,
living life at a higher level like that, you have to overcome challenge, you have to overcome failure, you have to overcome struggles and setbacks. What is one of the biggest that you've had to overcome, or maybe a couple of them that you can think of?
Well, there's actually quite a lot of challenges in the beginning. First of all, it was a new industry. In 2000, very few people actually knew about SEO.
Mm,
So I had the challenge of then educating businesses, and also I was doing this via phone or
mm,
or by email. So I wasn't actually physically turning up at their offices.
wow.
So that I was having to convince them of the benefits to, the potential benefits to their business of getting their websites optimized in those days.
Yeah.
Another biggie, to be quite honest, was financial.
Mm,
The way I started my business model off was I was working on a no placement, no fee basis. Now, sometimes it could take up to 3, 4 months, obviously, to get paid.
mm,
So cash flow was a major issue, in those days. And also another challenge that I faced, which was a bit difficult as well, was when companies or people insisted that I meet them,
mm.
because often then the next question I'll then have to ask them is your premises accessible? Or, so that was a bit awkward in those days, because sometimes because I don't know, it was probably a pride issue. I didn't like to say to people, oh, by the way, I'm disabled, so I might not be able to come to you.
Gotcha.
So what I would do is actually go and scout out the premises the day before. If the premises was accessible, fine. I'll then obviously then go to the meeting. But if it wasn't, I'll just cancel the meeting and just make up some excuse.
Mm,
So so there was quite a lot of challenges, and to be quite honest, Nash, in the beginning there were times when I nearly gave up
mm-hmm.
because it was just so hard. But I just had to persevere, because I knew that if I could make this work, the financial gains and also the actual freedom that it would give me and the flexibility would be
Mm, nice. And that actually ties into what my next question was going to be: is what.
self-belief, work hard, and you got to persevere.
Mm, excellent, buddy. Now, that ties into my next question. I was going to say, how do you keep yourself motivated through the tough times? And that's really it. I think what you just mentioned is the freedom, the
Mhm.
flexibility, the control of your own time, control of
Yeah,
your own destiny, all of
indeed.
that, that is what kept you going through the tough times. So like for me, because
Yeah.
all of us, if you're going to succeed at anything in life, you're going to have to deal with overcoming challenges and getting just very creative about overcoming challenges. But at the same time, you have to have like something inside of you that is much bigger and stronger than the challenges, right?
You're absolutely right. Yes, you've got to have that fire within you, haven't you? At the end of the day, you've got to really want it.
Mm,
It's like, it's like two boxers going into the ring, and at the end of the day, the person that wins is the person who wants it the most.
mm, yeah.
And I just really wanted it. I wanted that financial freedom. I wanted the flexibility. Like today, I'm actually working from home. I've now got the lifestyle whereby I can get up in the morning, whatever time I want. I can then decide if I'm going to go into the office or if I'm actually going to work from home.
Beautiful.
So a lot of it is about having that vision, knowing what you want to do, and also where you want to be.
Mm,
And I'm perfectly honest with you. It would have been good to have someone like you in those early days with whom I could actually talk to and say, "Oh, Nash, this is what's happening at this moment in time." Unfortunately for me, I actually never had that. I just had myself, well, and also my wife,
mm.
to rely on.
Wow. That's powerful, man, because it's very difficult to overcome a lot of this stuff when you are completely by yourself. It's good you had your wife there and all of that.
Yes.
One of the things that I recommend to people,
Mm.
because it's been so instrumental in my life, is finding a mentor or several, at least even a couple
Yes.
mentors that you can
Yes.
emulate their success, emulate their success habits, their thought process, how they look at their business, how they look at challenges and things like that, and just
Absolutely.
duplicate that in your own life.
That's
So
right.
that's cool, man. I really, that's why I wanted to get you on here because, for me, hearing your story
Mm.
and everything that you've overcome, and you can only touch on so much of it, right? You can't. I'm sure we can't experience the massive amount of doubt or confusion
Oh
or
gosh,
struggle that.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's been lots of tears, lots of sleepless nights, lots of worry.
Mm,
It's a very, very hard journey,
mm-hmm.
especially if you're traveling this journey on your own.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would have given up, but
Yes.
I was determined to succeed. And looking back, I would have loved to have a mentor.
Mm,
Seriously, just someone that you can just pick up the phone and say, "Oh God, I'm having a bad day," or what do you think about this? So
mm-hmm.
it's one of those things,
Yep. Just to
and
bounce
you
ideas.
know, and I think that's why a lot of businesses fail,
Mm,
is because if you've got no one to turn to, and you've just got yourself, and a lot of decisions that you're making as well are actually quite critical to the success of your business. So
mm.
if you make the wrong if you make the wrong decision, then you're screwed.
Yeah, you're
you know
right. And all it could have taken to avoid that would be a quick phone call in a lot of
Absolutely.
cases. So, you know, um, yeah, man, you're kind of a rare breed because you did go through all of that yourself with really not a lot of support from the outside. So props to you for that.
Thank you.
And but I think it's so important uh, to just stress the just how critical it is to have a burning why, right? And really understand what your why is when you jump into any kind of an entrepreneurial journey. You have to have something that really drives you like that. Like for me, like all the things that you mentioned, the freedom and being completely in control of my own time and how much money
Mhm.
I make and
Yes.
what my place in the world is and where my life is headed. Like when I worked a job,
Yeah.
and it was always somebody else dictating all of those things for me. They were dictating how much money I could make. They were
That's
dictating
true.
when I had to get up in the morning, when I was allowed to eat lunch, when I was allowed to leave the office to come home and be with the people that I love. You know,
Absolutely.
all these
Absolutely.
things. So, So that's cool. Now, what do you recommend for people who are you're listening to this and they're wanting to
Mhm.
start a business
Sure.
online, preferably online. That's what I recommend, anyways, because you can start an
Indeed.
online business with the least amount of overhead,
That's right.
and startup cost and all of that kind of thing,
Sure.
and get into profit mode very quickly. So
Sure.
what do you recommend for people who are wanting to start a business but are afraid of they're afraid of getting started, and mainly that's due to a fear of failure. So what do you recommend to people that are just afraid of failing?
Well, you can't go into business if you can't go into business if you're afraid of failure. My first online business failed completely. And I lost all my money. I basically lost all my savings on my
Mm,
first business.
wow.
And since then, I've been trading online for about 13 years now. And I've done lots of businesses that have failed. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to give up. Because at the end of the day, all it takes is about two or three of those businesses that you set up to succeed.
Mm.
And you can forget about all your failures. Failure is part of life. And to me, I see failure as a learning experience.
Mm.
It's a very valuable learning experience. Now, onto the question that you asked me regards, what would I recommend? I'd always say with any online business or with any business is to try to look for a niche. You've got to be different.
Mm.
You've got to find something. Like when you look at my SEO business in the beginning, even now, it's still fairly unique in terms that we offer performance SEO. We say to you that if we don't deliver, you don't pay us.
Mm.
That's always been our niche. That's something, that's always been our point of difference. Like if you look at our web hosting, we're one of the first companies to offer completely free web hosting with no adverts or banners.
Mm.
So the key is to fully understand your market, do lots of research, and then find out what your point of difference is going to be.
Mm.
Because otherwise, you can't be the same as anyone else. You kind of need that. Sometimes, your point of difference could be price.
Mm.
It could be the way you deal with customers, but you need to have that little niche. But I would say the best businesses that work on the internet are niche businesses.
Yes, right on the money, brother.
Thank you.
Very good advice there. What I know for me, a lot of my success and
Yeah.
just ability to to move forward in life and in business has come from the books that I read. Actually, before I ever found a mentor,
Yes.
the only mentors I had were from the books that I read.
All right.
Um, what are a few of your favorite books that you recommend for other aspiring entrepreneurs to dig into?
That's a good question. I really liked Richard Branson's book.
Oh, I haven't
Uh,
read that yet. Do you remember what it's called?
Unfortunately, no. Sorry, I
No,
don't.
that's okay. Richard Branson. Yeah, I
Um,
hadn't even looked into any books by him, but
yeah,
he is somebody that I highly respect and admire too.
yeah, he's great. I really liked his book. I can't remember what it's called, but obviously, if you do a search in
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, then the other book that I liked is the guy that set up Dennis Publishing. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the book either.
That's all right.
But again, this is a guy that started from scratch,
Mm,
and he built up $1 billion empire within 20 years.
wow.
And he started from nothing. I think his name is Felix Dennis, and he owns some of the magazines like PC Pro, Web User Magazine. But his story is absolutely fascinating, and it's a story that most people can actually relate to.
Mm, nice. I love
But I can always actually say something else that's really helped me as well. I don't know if you read The Power by, I think it's Rhonda Burns.
no.
She's the lady that did the, oh gosh, what's it called again? She's the lady that actually wrote The Secret.
The Secret. Yes, I do know that name. Nice.
Yeah, it's a sequel. It's a sequel to The Secret.
Ah,
and it's called The Power. That's another one of my favorite books.
great. Oh, I'll have to dig into that one myself because The Secret was very transformational for me. That's what really taught me the law of attraction
Absolutely.
and how that
Yeah.
works. And what's amazing is like every successful person that I've studied or
Yes.
worked with or talked with, I would say like 99% of them all talk about the law of attraction and how they've applied it in their life.
That is
And
true.
so that that is really powerful too because that ties in with the law of attraction. Um, Helps you to be once you understand how it works, it helps you to really be very aware of your
Yes.
own emotions, your feelings, and your thoughts and your words
That's
that you're
right.
keeping active in your life because it's those things together that are done continually, day in and day out through our life. All the things that we think, we speak, and the
You're right.
emotions and feelings we carry in our body, those are the things that actually produce the results in our life.
You're
And
absolutely right. You're absolutely spot on with that one.
mm, mm,
Completely agree with you. And also as well, part of it is visualization as well.
mm,
At the moment, I've actually got a lovely villa in Florida on my desktop.
nice.
Okay. I haven't got the villa yet, but I know I'm going to have it soon.
Beautiful. In Florida?
So every time I turn on my computer, I look at the villa,
Yeah.
and I think to myself, okay, that's coming soon, and I
Mm.
just work hard for it. As simple as that.
Yes, and it will be a reality in your life here soon, brother.
Indeed.
That's exciting, man.
Indeed.
Living on the beach.
Absolutely.
That's very cool, man. I just, I've been very inspired by other people's stories from struggle to victory, and overcoming challenges in their life and then achieving their ultimate dreams and desires and just moving on with their life and really experiencing fulfillment. And I think that I mean, everybody deserves that out there. Everybody deserves it. And
Absolutely.
everybody wants it too. Everybody out there craves fulfillment in their life. They crave to have more freedom, more control, more time, more
Absolutely.
money, all of those things. But you and I have figured out that just a traditional job will never allow you to have those things.
Indeed.
It's the complete opposite of what a job represents. A job, jobs have their own place in society, and that's fine. There's some people that will never become an entrepreneur, and
Absolutely.
all they will ever do is work a job, and that's fine because we need to have people like that to help,
Indeed.
keep things moving along in our society. But for those of us that desire more in life, that want to experience
Absolutely.
more of what this life has to offer, entrepreneurship really is about the only way to go unless
It
unless
is.
you can get some kind of an inheritance or win the lottery, but none of that is in your control though, right? So the only thing that is in our control where we can actually produce the kind of results that we ultimately desire inside is to be an entrepreneur. Would you agree with
I,
that?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's actually no two other ways about it. Unless you manage to be the CEO of a really large company,
Mm-hmm.
whereby you're actually making millions of pounds, the only other way is.
Mm-hmm.
But then, having said that, even if you are the CEO of a large multinational, you still haven't got that freedom.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you still got to turn up for work, you still answerable to the shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're an entrepreneur, you're the master of your own destiny.
Nice.
And also you get so much more fulfillment out of it
Mm.
in terms of that. Unfortunately, as you know, it can be quite hectic at times.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's a lot more fulfilling because you're your own boss. You don't answer to anybody. You can decide. Like for instance, you can decide that you're gonna have 6 months off if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
And I know plenty of entrepreneurs
It's up to you.
Yep, and I know plenty of entrepreneurs that do that. Take 6 months off
Absolutely.
and just go travel the world and
Indeed, indeed. Sometimes I'll take a whole month off and just travel for a whole month.
mm-hmm.
And again, but again, just coming back to the internet businesses, that's the beauty of having an internet business. Because if you actually look at my workforce, like for instance, technically, I do not actually need to be in my office because I've got staff in the Philippines, I've got staff in America, I've also got staff in India,
Beautiful.
and then my key staff are in the UK. So even when I go abroad, I can still interact with all my staff and still do what I do. So I could technically actually sit on the beach and actually still do my work. Seriously, I can. I've actually done it. I've actually done it before, quite a lot of times.
That's excellent, man.
And, and that's the freedom that you get.
Sure is, man. That right there is it's priceless, absolutely priceless. You mentioned, because sure, becoming an entrepreneur and especially becoming a successful entrepreneur, it does require extra work. It does require extra dedication. It does require maybe a few disappointments or struggles or whatever along the way that you wouldn't have expected. But here's what I've figured out is working a job. For me, when I worked a job, it was even more painful than anything I've really had to go through with as an entrepreneur, just because I knew that there was no way out, right? So, whenever, and I've been through layoffs. There was at one point in time when I was working a job consistently where I was laid off from a job 3 times in 3 separate years. All right, so in 3 years I had 3 different jobs completely, and they were all taken away from me by way of a layoff, right? So to me, when I was in that situation where, all of a sudden I wake up and one day I have no income. The day before I had income, the next day I have no income, no job, right? That is a scary place to be because you don't have any real control over it, right? So
you're absolutely right, Nash. I've had that before. I've been fired from a couple of jobs. It's not because anything I did. It's just that I don't know. It could be because my face didn't fit.
Unbelievable. Yep, that happens too. You're right.
It's one of those things. And I've been in a situation whereby I've been on benefits, whereby I really didn't have like 2 pence to rub together, as in dirt poor.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there, so I can actually relate to what you're saying. And that's why I think people, obviously, if they want this sort of lifestyle, they've got to realize that there's a journey and there's a process to getting there. There are going to be difficult times, there are going to be stumbling blocks, but the key about being an entrepreneur and working for yourself is that most of the time it does not feel like work. You see, because you're actually enjoying what you're doing so much, you wouldn't realize a lot of the time that you put in 12-hour, 14-hour days. Whereas if you worked in an office and you did 8 hours in a day, you'll know that. But if you're working for yourself, you can easily do 12, 14 hours without any problem. And that's 7 days a week.
Yes.
But a lot of the time, you enjoy what you're doing.
That's so true, man. Because, every action you take in your own business, you know that you're building your own asset, right? You're building something for you that you own, right? And that's so powerful, brother. Really, really good stuff here, man. So, all right. So it looks like we're about at the 30-minute mark. Why don't we do this? What are some just parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the listeners here? Anything that comes to mind at all that you would like to impart to them?
Well, as I said in the beginning, I would say that if you can, get yourself a mentor. Get yourself, find someone who's been there, someone who's done it, and someone who can offer you words of wisdom and support, because it is a hard journey. Very, very few people can actually go through this process and do it on their own. Whereas you'll stand a much better chance of success if you had someone there with you, just helping you through those difficult times.
Oh yeah.
So that would be my main advice. Secondly, don't be afraid to fail. People fail all the time. Take any failure as a learning process. and then use the lessons you learned from that failure and then apply that to your next project.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other piece of advice as well is try to diversify. Obviously, once you start your first business, don't think that's it. You always need to be looking out for opportunities. I've got close to about 20 different businesses that I do. My original business that I actually, that I spoke to you about, and that I started in 2000, that is no longer my main source of income. I've got other different sources of income now.
Nice.
So, so it's very important to try to have a diverse portfolio, and also try to get some really smart business models. I think that's very important. That it's not about how hard you work, it's how smart you work. If you can get a business that's generating $100,000 a year, and you're working, I don't know, like 2-3 hours a week, isn't it better to have, isn't that better than have a business that's generating $100,000 a year, whereby you're then working 60 hours a week?
Right.
So it's all about it's all about working smart, and and having some really smart business models. That's my key advice.
Excellent. Wow, what a great takeaway there for sure, man. Well, to wrap things up, Mark, can you just let the viewers know where they can find out more about you online, or any particular projects that you're passionate about, or anything like that?
Well, absolutely. If they want to learn about a bit about my business, if you go to www.ei.uk.com, that's my main website, and that's like a gateway to the various services that we offer. We do a bit of web design, we do a bit of SEO. We do quite a lot of things like social media. So yeah, so if you want to learn a bit about me, just go there.
Wonderful. All right, guys. Well, there you have it, folks. This is Mark Esho coming at you. What a wonderful interview. I took away lots of really good stuff here, and I can't wait to put this live on the site for everybody to listen to. So this is Nash Riker signing off with StruggleToVictory.com. I appreciate all of you tuning in, and I just encourage you to go out there and to find your why, get your why crystal clear in your mind and in your soul and your heart as to what is most important to you. How would you like to live your life? How would you like to design your life? And then, once you've made that decision that you know exactly what you want, then once you start looking, doors will start opening, answers will start being brought to you, mentors will start being brought into your life, the law of attraction will start kicking in. When you actually make a decision, though, to start heading in that direction, to pursue your own destiny and to accomplish your dreams. So I encourage you to live boldly and to stay inspired. So this is Nash Riker signing off. Make it a great day.